Hello again, Donna Aroldi from Business Travel News, and I have with me here Dennis Vilovich from Troop. And yesterday you had a very exciting announcement. Why don't you share the news in case some of the people here missed it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Donna. So yesterday we announced a very interesting investment round, which is a massive milestone, obviously, for us. We raised $8 million with a couple of very well-known VCs and individuals in the industry. Very, very exciting. Really, it will help us to advance on our mission to make organizing a meeting easy for anyone, because it's really a massive problem right now.
Interesting. Congratulations.
Thank
It's
you.
always nice to see investment in the business travel
Yes.
industry. What do you think led to your funding at this time when business travel has been slower to recover than other travel segments?
Yeah, it's a great question, Donna. I think one thing is, the interesting thing is that actually what we are offering today is the same what we offered 4 years ago, or in 2018, 3 years ago, when we were here at the Business Travel Show and won the Disrupt Award. The same concept of basically the question we are answering is, well, where do we meet? And before COVID, well, people thought, well, that's maybe not really relevant to us. Also, some companies realize it is very relevant to us. And what we've seen now that with COVID and the impact on how the world is changing, people working from home, that this question is very, very key right now and very difficult to answer. And what we've realized that meetings historically, meetings planning has been a very manual process and very opinion driven. And this today is not enough anymore. You cannot plan a meeting on opinions, because the first quick important question is to ask, well, where can we travel to? Like, where can we meet, right? The travel restrictions, which maybe at one point will go away again, but today that's very relevant. And that's very difficult to answer, only this little piece. Mm-hmm. And so we've started on that journey in 2018, bringing these data points together. We have seen great companies supporting us in the vision, joining us at a very early stage, and the company which is public knowledge is Mondelez, being our first customer in 2019, and still, I mean, every year they are supporting us. And what we've seen last year during the pandemic, we managed to triple the business. We managed to sign up a lot of additional large corporation, big names, and everyone understood that we are building here a future product. So what we are selling today is still evolving on a daily basis. And I think that combinations basically of that the problem has become very important for any type of corporation, for any type of company, for any meeting, for any people in the end, and that we managed to show growth during this very difficult period led in the end to this investment round.
The opportunity,
Yeah.
Great. I'd like to talk a little bit about current trends you're noticing from your data, since you mentioned you have so many data points.
Yes.
What are you seeing in terms of booking trends, destination trends, cost? Are clients moving more toward local transport, since I know you added that to your platform?
Yeah, so I think we see actually some behavioral change. So when we started, the typical use case of using our technology were actually larger meetings, because it's very relevant, it's very difficult to bring all these data points together. But what we see today, the sweet spot, the majority of our meetings are small internal meetings. And actually what we see that companies will meet more. They will travel more in the future for meetings, for internal meetings. Because COVID made us basically work from home, or it accelerated that trend. It was a trend which was already there. And companies have the challenge now to basically bring their remote workforce together. They understand that it is important to come together. Just as we are here at the show, there are certain things we cannot, let's say, do virtually. So there's a massive value of bringing people together. So as we are working from home, there's a higher need to bring this remote workforce together. And so that's one of the trends, really, like small internal meetings, which we are optimizing. Secondly, another interesting case, we've seen cluster meetings. I don't know if you heard about that. So cluster meetings are meetings which you would basically, you have, instead of one global meeting, you have maybe 3-4 regional meetings which are then connected virtually. So it's a combination of cluster and hybrid a bit. And that's a trend we see, because we can't travel globally currently. I mean, also the US is opening up, so it will change. But we see companies really thinking about going forward, bringing their people together in their regions, in person, but then connecting these meetings virtually into one global meeting.
Right.
And so that's another interesting trend there as well.
And I like your term cluster. I've heard that referred to as hub and spoke, but
Exactly.
I like cluster better. So thank you. You have some heavy hitters in your Series A funding, including Concur co-founder Steve Singh, whose Madrona Venture Group led the round. Madrona also is behind the recently announced Spotnana from a week ago. It was very recent. TMC. Will you be working together?
Yes. I mean, we share the same vision of an open ecosystem in travel. And I think that's a big challenge, and that's as well the big opportunity we see here. That travel historically has been operating in silos. So there's no flow of data and no flow of information, which in the end impacts the value for the end user, for the customer. And that's what Spotnana is changing. And that's what we are believing in. Our technology is built on a microservices ecosystem, or infrastructure, which is basically hundreds of APIs talking to each other, connecting, and so we can just plug in or plug out whatever we want to do. And what we are building is just an ecosystem of integrations, which then empowers you as the user to decide which data sources you want to use, maybe which fulfillment service you want to connect to. So really giving that power back to you as the user and changing the way the travel industry is run. Maybe going a bit more in how the financial industry is run, where it's actually, an open data flow between the different players and stakeholders in the system.
Interesting. How do you think that will change the meeting manager role and meeting planner role?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the meeting planner role is, today I think everyone becomes a meeting planner. Previously, you have dedicated meeting planners in organizations, but today, executive assistants are meeting planners in the end as well.
Right.
They have a lot of hats. So I think the work of the meeting planner will be very strategic work. Bringing in new technologies, for example, as we were discussing earlier, and as well just making sure that people taking right decisions as they're planning. So it's going maybe a bit away from more an operational work, trying to run RFPs, all the things. What is the value of an RFP? I don't know. Wouldn't we love to get rid of them? Is that really required? No, the RFPs are required currently because the technology doesn't support the ideal workflow. And I think meetings manager and the planners will have to adapt to this reality, which can be very exciting as well.
And last question, I don't know if you want to share this, but how do you plan to invest the money? What changes can we expect to see from Troop in the near future?
Yeah, so happy to talk around that a bit. So our main investment point will be into the product. So we have started with something. We have a meeting planning tool today, which is used by several large corporations. What we've seen is that a lot of customers ask us to help them to fulfill. We will not fulfill, but we will connect to best-in-class services which can offer these fulfillment services. So we will do technology integrations, deep integrations with service providers, technology providers, which can offer these services, and building basically towards a self-serving end-to-end meetings management solution, which we would just use, everyone can use, as we are just using online booking tools today to book our own flights, etc.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Congratulations again.
Thank you
for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And stick around. Next up at 1 is BTN Europe's Molly Dyson.
Thank you.